You know, we're taking our time to share with you some of the knowledge that we have, and there's a lot of information. It's difficult sometimes to set these talks up because we have to decide what it is we think is most important, stuff that we think, you know, you haven't necessarily already heard of, or ways to make information easier to use. One of my least favorite expressions is knowledge is power, right? We talked about that in the last talk, because, you know, a lot of people know a lot of stuff, but they don't do anything with it. So really, knowledge isn't power. I think implementation is power. So we all get discouraged. I think sometimes we know the right thing to do, but we don't do it. So the idea here tonight is to be, somehow to be transformative, not just to be informative, not to just give you guys more and more info, but to give you impetus, give you the excitement, give you a rationale, and a real reason to decide to leave tonight and say, you know what, I'm going to learn something from this, and I'm going to go and I'm going to implement that. That's a great idea, and I think that if I do that, it's going to make a difference in my life. So I brought in these pictures to start by. You guys can hand these around too. These are my grandparents. This one is. These are my father's parents, and these are my mother's. And I want you to take a look at those and get an idea, get a sense, based on how they look, about how old they are in those photos. The other thing we did was just to make it fun and appreciative of all of you guys, is we have the raffle for the gas card. That's probably why you came tonight, really. You don't want to work out, you just want the gas card. So we have the $100 gas card. You guys did the raffle. Everybody that came in, right, filled one of those out. Did you guys all do that? And then if you guys brought in a guest, you get to fill out an extra one. Did we do that already? Okay, awesome. And here's the gas card. So why don't we do the raffle while the hands are around? Oh, you want to wait a little bit?
Yeah, we might have to struggle.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll do it at the end.
You do it at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
at the end.
Yeah, you're right. That way, you gotta leave, right?
Okay.
So is everyone your hand bells on? So get an idea, get a sense of how old you think they are. Okay? I'll ask you that after. So this was that article, The Wisdom of Yourselves. I just wanted to quickly remind you guys that if you got this article, looked like that at the last talk, please read it if you haven't already. And if you didn't get this article, because I think a lot of you guys didn't come to the last talk, we can have it for you. I didn't make copies of it, but Megan, you could do that, right? Or Sue. For those of you who want that article, The Wisdom of Yourselves, this is pretty much conclusive that your health destiny is not about your genetics. And when you read this article written by Bruce Lipton, you cannot be done with this article and think the same way about your health. It's incredible. And it's exciting because it gives you, it's empowering you to live differently. That the results of the choices that you make in your lifestyle matter more than your DNA. Basically, the article says that your DNA, they're programs that have to be accessed, like a computer program, and you're sort of playing out your life on a keyboard of lifestyle choices. And your lifestyle is what's going to influence the way those programs are played out. In and of themselves, they can't do anything. They don't manifest, but they become manifest by the way you live, which is pretty cool, I think. And then before we also start, I just want to tell you guys too real quick, I talk a lot about vegetarian-based living, vegetarian-based diet. You don't have to be a vegetarian, but I tell you guys, even though this isn't a nutrition talk, I just saw this and I had to share it with you real quick. I make a big deal out of that for a lot of reasons. And we're going to talk a little bit about exercise and how we evolved from hunters and gatherers. And getting away from that is part of the reason why we have to do these kinds of talks, to think about how little we really move compared to our ancestors and the way we're eating now. But this was about eating meat and the way the meat is processed. I just had to tell you this. I had to share this with you. It was, the guy says that in his investigation of these cattle farms, what he found was that they feed animals basically anything, including chicken feathers, sawdust, chicken manure, stale pizza dough, potato chips, and candy bars. And he went on to say that, amazingly, they did a study in 1996 to find out, to explore the desirability of feeding chewing gum to cattle. And what they found out was that, and they left it in the foil wrappers, and what they found out was that it was of net benefit to the farmers, and that it was of no consequence to the quality of the meat that you eat. Do you believe that? Do you think that you could eat that and it's not going to affect you? So I mean, if that's what the fuel you're putting in your body, and you're eating meat regularly, who eats meat on a regular basis? Don't be bashful. Like at least 3 days a week eat some kind of meat, minimum? So, I'm not saying you have to be a vegetarian to be healthy, but I had to share that with you because it's mind-blowing, the stuff that's happening and the way food is processed. And you can't eat that and not have it affect your health, so just food for thought, I guess. All right. Any guesses as to how things? Any guesses how old these guys are? How about this one? How old do you think they look?
No, real front row.
Who thinks they're good judge of age?
I could think in their 60s.
Okay.
No.
That's
No.
What do you
Late
think?
60s, early 70s.
Early 70s?
Early 70s.
Okay, a lot of people tell me that, early 70s. Rick?
I'll go with
Okay. Yeah, they're about 55 here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're about in their late 50s, early 60s, yeah. Now these photos were taken back, this was taken back in the early, or mid 80s, I think. This one was taken back in the mid 70s. So the point to that is that back in the 70s, people looked, at least my grandparents, I mean, they looked and dressed and acted old, didn't they? I mean, you know, you don't see people in their 50s now looking like that,
Well, so not.
right? That's, you know, so they say 50's the new 30. I like that.
So do we look like that?
That's what I said, there's something you're like, oh my God, anyway, you know.
But it's an interesting evolution, I think. So the talk tonight is called Well People Move. And the purpose is to educate through a transformative basis, to encourage you guys, not to just give you the information, but to encourage you to be more wellness-oriented rather than treatment-oriented. I mean, there are people actually working out now as a treatment modality. Like they go to the doctor and they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you know, high blood glucose counts, and the doctor's telling them to exercise, but it's as a treatment to sort of fend off those issues, right? And you know, philosophically, I think it's a huge issue because it's as if to say that it might not be so important except for the fact that you have the sickness now. So it becomes sort of an action after the fact. That's the classic preventative medicine. So we have a ton of information to distill and to try to give you guys ultimately, by the end of the talk, safe, easy things to do that you can implement on your own at home. You don't necessarily have to go to the gym, but we're going to get to that. So what does it mean to be well? Does anyone have an idea, like a definition, if you had to say what it means to be well?
The 4 essentials of life.
Oh, I love that.
Nice!
Very good. All right, what are they? Come on, Jen.
Food, water,
Yeah,
oxygen,
yeah.
nerve supply.
Yes.
All right, very good,
Impressive.
very good.
So we'll talk a little bit about the oxygen. We're going to get to that. Very good. So yeah, to be well, you have to, we think chiropractically maybe a little bit differently about what wellness is, and we talk about the 4 essentials of life. I think a lot of people, when I ask them what it means to be well, they think, well, that's well is healthy, and healthy is if I feel good. And that's part of it. Certainly, well people tend to feel good. But that's really not the whole story, because you can be really sick and feel good and not know it. And we all know of people that have been diagnosed with terrible diseases that were feeling pretty good. They go to their doctor, they have some blood work done, and the next thing they know, their health picture is totally different than what they thought it was. So there are no guarantees in life, but we recognize that if we pay attention to those 4 essentials and we work on our wellness and we build up our wellness and we don't just act on the other side of living a bad lifestyle and treating the effect rather than changing the cause, that we're living more of a wellness lifestyle. And we realize in chiropractic that is expressed through our nervous system, that our innate